Picks. We got James King from Right Here Radio tonight. How we doing, buddy?
Doing good, Nick. How you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. So let's see. I've followed you since pretty much I started my Instagram page for the podcast, and you consecutively, consistently putting out some great content, my friend. Everything you put out is something I enjoy. And well, let's first off, how introduce yourself a little bit. How tell my viewers a little bit about yourself.
Sure. James King, New Jersey, Hoboken, New Jersey.
Oh boy.
Uh, home birthplace of Frank Sinatra. Actually, little fact about me: my grandfather sang with Sinatra in his first band, the
Stop
Hoboken
it.
Four. Absolutely, the Hoboken Four. So I've got that going. Didn't
I
really
got
help
that
with
going.
anything else in life, but that's cool. It's good to tell. It's a good story to tell.
Of
Parties.
course.
Um, Kind of started in the entertainment industry about 19 years old. I was in my second year of college. We were going through a history class for like the 55th time in my life. Got up, walked out, studied to be an audio engineer, worked in television, a late show, a Letterman, anything.
Wow.
Yeah, all sorts of talk shows in New Jersey. I mean, in New York. Did that for about 10 years. Then right after 9/11, I was there. I was actually shooting it from in Chelsea at the Oxygen
Come on.
Network. Yeah, I was shooting that live when it happened. And then that industry got really weird after that. So I took off and I had the entrepreneurial spirit, started my own production company, went that route. Um, and then ended up discovered social media. And around 2009 started Social Babies, which I still have right now as a social media agency. And I do social media for all businesses, small businesses all over the
Okay.
country. Been doing it for over 15 years. And now, the last about 2015, a bunch of friends of mine, like you, sitting in a room, saw Trump come down the escalator. I said, this would be fun to track on a podcast.
Yeah, right.
So we did this thing called Right Here Radio. Now, Right Here, it has nothing to do with ideology. I just happened to be listening to DMX at the time, and he has that song Right
Ooh,
Here. Bring it,
come
what? We're
on.
right here. Yeah. So Right Here Radio was discovered. We did a whole bunch. We used to have a communist on the show. It was great. It was a fun time. Just did that audio though. And then that kind of died for a while. And then I picked it up 2020 because I kept the business and the politics separate. But when they said my business was non-essential and took about 300K off my bottom line, then I decided I don't give a shit no more. And I'm going to go out and tell everybody how I feel about things. And
Yeah.
then right Here Radio was resurrected. And then the iteration that you see of it now. And now when I'm just not all politics, if you noticed, I'm trying to bring a
Yeah.
little bit of everything in. There's a rhyme and a reason to it. Basically, I believe that, by the time an issue gets to the political realm, it's too late. You have a
Yeah.
bunch of retards.
Absolutely.
They don't know what to do with it.
Yep.
Right. And what do they say? Politics is downstream of culture. So I'm going back in time and giving my whole back histories because I'm going back to the entertainment world. And right now, just putting together a scripted show
No shit.
for Right Here Radio, non-political, but still, you see what I put in. I still drop in a bunch of political stuff on the page. I
Oh
can't
yeah.
abandon that completely, but I do believe that I believe that the news media realm right now has a good competition, and they
For
call it
sure.
long tail content. So like me and you are kind of at the end of the tail, right? And
Yep.
then you have the big boys and middle
Yep.
sized boys in the middle. I think from the news media standpoint, where we've put up a good fight. You're making ground, right?
Do you think they notice that like they're losing a little bit to that because I don't know if it's credibility that's being lost or if it's,
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
and I'll give you a perfect yes. They noticed it because that every week more people get arrested
of
for
course.
ridiculous reasons,
Yeah.
right? And it's just to shut people up.
Yeah,
That's all it
exactly.
is.
Yep.
Really, it really is. And people that don't even have like media podcasts, people that like to speak their mind in the streets in front of abortion centers,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
they just put this old 74-year-old lady in jail for 2 years for speaking out in front of an abortion center. I mean, so they
What?
absolutely notice. I said it in 2016 because I'm in this industry. I'm in the media and social media. And I said it the night Trump got elected. I go, these people are going to get pissed because they just got smoked by memes. That was 2016. They got smoked. All the Hollywood power, all the media power, all the institutional power, and a couple of memes. In fact, the guy is going to jail for putting out memes. You know what I'm saying? So they know
Yeah.
they got smoked, but now you have to basically come at it full force, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Is you've got to like I look at it like this: is a circle, right? And you have the news media, you have you have entertainment, you have government, and you have institutions. News media there's a fight going on. We're making ground. It's the entertainment, which is the culture, and it's the institutions, which I put in there like tech and big corporations and all these NGO type people, and then the government. They they own that ground,
I mean, would
right?
that be
So
Robert De Niro doing his little thing recently?
yeah.
Yeah, of
Oh, that was crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like coming out there, and he didn't do that on his own. And
course
if he
not.
did,
Of
he's a
course not. He
moron.
doesn't have a brain for it. Yeah. Yeah.
No, no, they're actors. They're actors, and that was okay. You're a dumb actor. That's cool. But when you start using your influence,
Exactly.
for just because you're either getting, and I'm convinced people like him, they all get paid off for it in
That's a
one way,
bag.
shape,
That's a
or another.
bag, bro. It's a play.
It's a
Of course.
play,
Yeah.
exactly. So they don't get because here's the thing: how's this all work, right? Eventually, you eat your own, right?
Of course.
So
Of course.
they want to stay as long as they can what they believe is on the the side that's not going to eat them, but at some point everyone gets eaten.
Yeah. You're right.
So
You're right.
yeah,
No.
totally. But
So, okay, you dropped a lot of gems there, man. Just you being in the industry that you were in, at the time that you were in, how have you seen? I mean, how much has that changed from, what's going on in the world right now? I mean, back then, was it that controlled? Was it that
no,
influenced by exactly what you see today? Talk about it.
not at all. I got into the industry mid-90s. So like my first gig, I was an intern as an audio assistant mixing the music at Letterman. So,
Wow.
you know, we would sit there, they would do their, rehearsal. They would come down to us. We would play back on this huge board, 24 track
Is
digital
this
track.
Reagan or Bush Sr.?
No, no, no. I'm saying,
No, I'm asking who was in the office at the time.
oh, at the time, this was Clinton.
Clinton. Okay.
Clinton was in the office, but it was a different beast. And that's why I saw when I got into the industry, people were still smoking indoors and,
Oh yeah.
and if I got into entertainment because of that, eccentricity,
Yeah.
eccentricity is fine. Weird shit is, that's
Yeah.
another level. But
Yeah.
like I said, after 9/11, things got weird. Things got cliquish. I don't know what word you could put around, and that's why the industry changed, and that's why I went out on my own. It's not the same. It's completely different. It's a click. But it always was. But now it's like a blood in, blood out
Oh yeah.
click.
Oh
You
yeah.
know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah.
It wasn't like that before. And it's like you have to show your politics to establish your right to be
Yeah.
there.
It's ridiculous. And if you don't agree, the guillotine.
Yeah, basically, and, if your career guillotine, absolutely,
Yeah.
you're gone. So the best move I ever did was go out on my. I haven't worked for anybody in over 20
So
years,
you're happy.
and
You're happy with your
I'm
decision to do that.
happy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough. It's hard. It's not easy, but that's the challenge. You know what I'm saying? Some people do sports and get off on that. For entrepreneurs, it's the challenge. If you're
Yeah.
not getting
Of course.
challenged,
Yeah.
then there's no fun. People around you think you're psychotic.
Of course. Of
I got
course.
friends
Of
and
course.
family
Yeah.
that I am actually starting to make Right Here Radio a legitimate business now. And
Wow.
and my close friends and family have seen me go through this about 4 times already with different other businesses. And but now they get it. But the first couple of times, they look at you
That's
like,
how it goes,
what?
bro. That's how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Entrepreneur, baby. Now, okay. Have you been dealing with YouTube and Instagram being a pain in the ass recently for your content, man? Because I'm getting like, listen, I'm strictly military content, and I kind of go after mental health a little bit because that's the stuff I went through when I got out of the military. I got
Sure.
shot when I was an Afghan, and I had to deal with it was new at the time. This was uh right before Afghan died off. So PTSD had just hit. No one really knew about it, but we were getting told that we had it. So I was going through the process there, and just going through the process of that in that time was a fucking nightmare. Now, talking about it now is I can't even show guns on Instagram but there's tits, vagina. I mean, what is, and YouTube.
I honestly, I don't use YouTube. I did, and then I'm not using it no more. I'm trying, and this is so funny for a guy that owns a social media agency. I'm trying to peel back on those. Now, Instagram is my main platform. I understand it because I run Facebook ads, like millions of dollars worth of ads for businesses. So I understand it the best, and that's why I use that because I know how it works. But I'm really, truly trying to peel back from using those platforms because that's what they're going to do. They're going to turn up. And what drives me crazy, Nick, is if I have to go through one more election cycle of hearing people in this industry, people that I respect, you know, talking about getting shadow banned and this and that and the other thing and not doing something about it,
Yeah, exactly.
as an entrepreneur, it drives me crazy.
Yeah,
So I'm trying to figure out, because that's the other thing with Right Here Radio, what I'm doing, I'm not even just trying to create different content. I'm trying to, at the same time, trying to figure out a new distribution form. You understand? I believe that the future is decentralized.
yes,
That basically you should be holding something up like this, like a data that you start using your devices more as a screen
exactly.
than a
Yeah,
storage,
yeah.
right? Because these are great. Don't get me wrong; they're fantastic. They're convenient. You can pull up stuff, but the amount of data they eat from you, and
Facts. You're right. You're right.
I think, and I've been saying this, I think the future is the past in the sense of I just feel like there's some kind of Napster type like way of doing this
Napster. Ooh, okay.
where the data lives on your computer and you go back to using the internet for what it truly is, a highway.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
People like you said, people like YouTube and Facebook and all these people, they put up barriers to get to the internet basically, right?
Yeah,
The
for
most
sure.
traffic is through YouTube, is through Facebook, is through Instagram.
And they know that, and
And
they're beginning to control it. That's what you're starting to see.
oh, they're beginning. They're controlling it.
Yeah,
You know
you're
what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing too. I know what you're saying about the political content and not even non-political, just stuff that related to your life that's just kind of non-political, maybe has to do with military or war. But just being in this business, I know people that are getting banned for a whole bunch of non-political stuff too.
Yeah.
See, they have this particular way of seeing the world
Yeah.
politically and other.
You're
And
right.
if you don't fall in line with it,
See you later.
see you later.
Yeah.
All right. We own it. And that's why, and that's fine. They did. I saw somebody say it online. I saw a video of this woman ranting, and she basically voiced what I've been saying for a while now is that these are all the nerds, the geeks, the dweebs.
I say this all the time. I say that you're
What you're
right.
witnessing is a revenge dream
They
happening.
finally got the ball.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like, remember the old, what was that?
That's so funny.
The old Van Halen video where the nerd is in the video. I forgot what it is, but it's those guys, the pocket,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
pencil
yeah. Pocket
pocket
protector.
square
Come
wearing
on. Oh
things.
yeah.
Oh yeah. But like anything else, their time will come and their time will go. As soon as, I don't care how powerful you are, I don't care how many trillions, because here's the thing. Their business, it's not like they have a steel company, a coal company, commodities. Yes, data is a commodity, but something like that, as fast as you can build it, it can drop like
You're
that
right.
because there's nothing real to hold on
Especially
to.
in today. You're right. You're
You know
right.
what I'm saying? So it's a matter of just keep building. That's why I keep telling everybody, because I get a lot of people DMing me about political stuff and
Yep.
what should we do and I just keep telling people, I go, just keep being a better
Hold
you. I
on.
know it sounds corny and cliche,
No, you're
but
right.
whatever you're good at, get really fucking good at it, right? To be undeniable, and then the collective of that happening. That's how you, like when I was telling you before the circle. That's how you squeeze into the cultural and start squeezing out and start owning that space. You have to, and that's why I said, like, a lot of people are dependent on these other platforms for that to happen. I know because I have a business that depends on Facebook ads and Instagram ads and TikTok ads and all of that stuff. But it's a weird world we live in because
Nope.
I'm leaning into it. Like this new show that I'm going to be creating, the scripted show, I'm not going to put it up on YouTube. And I love Rumble and I love some of these platforms. I love what Elon's done with X, but I'm not putting it up there for what? It's just bad business. It's the equivalent. You know what it is, and you don't notice it because it's content and it's all of that. But it's the equivalent of, I don't know, uh, 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 one retail store trying to run out of their competitor's retail store. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you would never
Yeah. Yeah.
do
Yeah.
this in
Yeah.
any other business. Like I wouldn't give you all of my equity and
I
all
get
of
it.
my,
I hear you.
you know what I'm saying? And say, here, now profit off of it. And yeah, if you let me, I can do some revenue sharing from it.
Hmm.
Right. That's
Now,
that's what they promise you. No.
now being right here radio, and I think I see what your vision is to a certain degree. Is the future in your head of news? Is it the Instagram 5 second ad, 10 second ads? Is it quick? Is it the attention spans of human beings just dwindle down to that? Is that what we have to get, best
Yeah.
at? Okay.
People watch long form content when they form a bond with that particular
Exactly. Yep.
person who's in front of them. But for the day to day kind of consumer of information and media, yeah,
10 second
yeah.
ads, baby. Yeah.
And if you noticed on Right Here Radio, I never bury the lead. I come out of the gate with the lead. Any story
Yeah.
that anything I put up, I get right to it because
Yeah, you
I
do.
know, and I do that because I've been running Facebook ads for so long and social media ads for so long. You have the first 6 seconds to grab someone. If they don't know or understand what the following minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes are going to be about, you've lost them.
Now, how'd you learn that from Facebook? Because now keep in mind, I'm from the era where I graduated from MySpace to Facebook, but pretty quickly Instagram took over the show. So where in MySpace now, where are the ads really hit in MySpace? What is it through Facebook Marketplace or where are they?
No, Facebook ads, Twitter, Instagram ads are on the feed. You've seen them all the time. They look like posts. They work, and they do work to an extent. I mean, like I said, I've helped businesses open up multiple locations based just off revenue they've made off, and that's what's made these platforms so powerful, right? That they have that reach, that mass, to be able to pull that off. But then there's an other side to it. And I'll be honest with you, I started doing this in 2009. It really wasn't, and I always understood and knew that these platforms are collecting data, but I maybe naively, to help to sell more sneakers, to sell more product. Okay, fine. I'm okay with that. Take the data all you want. I
Yeah,
live here.
exactly.
I like this color. Sell me that shoe. But then, the last 9 or 10 years, and you start learning more of what they're doing and why they're doing it and how they and for the
Yeah, it's getting dark.
and I'll tell you right now, it's the reason why I'm not jumping 2 feet into AI.
Gotcha.
Right? I love it as a tool, right? But what's going to happen again, Nick? It's going to be
Yeah.
what, 6 companies that own it,
Yep.
right? And then we got to bend to them.
Yep.
And no,
Yeah,
I mean, you
exactly. That's
fool
what
me,
it looks
fool
like.
me once, fool me twice,
I
and
hear
I'm
you.
jerk off.
Yep,
You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? So, like I said, I do use it for business. I mean, it's a fantastic, like, when you're creating content, you can go to ChatGPT and you can put stuff in. And I use it to help stimulate ideas. Some people just straight up steal it, but but again, I'm not jumping in. I did with social media. I started with MySpace, right? Like you were just saying,
Yep.
I was using it for business, and then to be honest with you, I was doing a marketing job for some company, and I was working with one of the New York Giants, and their marketing manager came to me, and I'm like, "What do you do as a marketing manager?" He's like, "Well, and this is like 2008. He's like, "Oh, I tweet for this guy," and I'm like, "He pays you to tweet?"
Wow.
And like, yeah, and that's when the light bulb went off. I go, "Oh," you know. But again, I jumped in 2 feet because I saw it. And here's the thing: people are always going to want to connect,
Yeah.
right? Social media has just been the next evolution of that. Town Square just became the Town Square,
Yep.
but there's going to be another thing,
For
and
sure.
that's what I kind of keep my eye on the ball. I like being the first to the wall,
Of
and as a
course.
military man,
Of
first
course.
usually we're
Of
first
course.
one taking all the shots at them,
Of course.
but I like to taste of the blood in my mouth.
Of
It's
course.
good, it's fun.
So would you say you're a patterns guy? You really see patterns and things and
Yeah, I see the core of things, right? Like people say, "Oh, you're always on your phone." Like they talk about this generation, but then you look at a picture from the 1950s on a newspaper, and they're all reading newspapers like this.
yeah.
People have always been like that.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, this is more addictive, and there's algorithm and so forth. But in the end, people want to communicate, learn, and keep their nose buried, and basically not be bothered by other people. That'll always remain
Of
true.
course.
And that's why yes. So it is a patterns, yes, but it's also just knowing history, right? It's like I'm sure you and a bunch of us, when the pandemic hit, you know, the first thing I yelled, I go, my God, never in the history of mankind do you hand this much power over to a group of people and expect them to just give it back to you and say, okay, it's over now. That has never happened. Not once,
No,
not ever, not
no.
since Adam and Eve.
Once they get a taste, it just keeps going. Yeah,
It keeps
absolutely.
going, and now we're living through it,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And the good thing is, though, is that it's so exposed right now
Mm.
that so many people can see that even people 4 years ago that are friends and family of mine, non-political, now I see them posting political stuff and posting not even just political, but just informative stuff like, did you know this was going on? Did you know that was going on? Like you talked to them 4 years ago, they're like, no, whatever, baseball and football, and I'm keeping myself, occupied with things. And that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
love it. That's your family, do everything you want. But some of us that see it, you're like, yo, this is going to get worse. And now they're starting, which is a good thing. And as long as people are starting to wake up,
See,
because
to me, the people that went so hard with the mask mandates and get the shots, don't worry, it's all good. We'll be safe. They're so prideful that they see now that it was a bad idea, but you don't hear anything from them, and I
yeah,
don't
no,
know.
I know. I told my wife this a long time ago. I go, after this is all over, I told her, I don't know if it's going to be a year, 2 years, 5 years, a decade. As soon as the majority of the populace comes to terms that they got played, it
Of
happens, bro.
course,
It
of
happens,
course.
and I'm not even holding it against you. It happens. And I'm not talking about struggle sessions like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be like that. No, there's going to be a point where and I see it already with some people where they're going to be like, oh, fuck,
Yeah,
I blew it.
the oh
I blew
fuck.
it. You don't got to admit it. Just
No,
know for the next time it comes around, be smart
be
about this. And
cognizant. Yeah,
yeah, be
absolutely.
cognizant of what's going on. Understand the nature of, and what kills me is like back what I said before about, never in the history of man have people given them that much power. People don't look at that. A lot of people don't understand that. You think it's bait, but it's humanity, man. That's all
Yeah.
it is, right? And it's human for people to eat it up, and it's also human for people to realize, okay, I screwed up, and that's like I said, that's what's going on right now, and that's a good thing, and thank God because
Honestly, what I think we're seeing the transition of, I think we're seeing the transition of people realizing that maybe they can't trust the government as much as they thought they did. And we're seeing, not only that, we're seeing how the news, the media affects people on a mass scale, and these people are starting to realize that. They're starting to realize that maybe they aren't looking out for my best interests, and they're realizing that, doing your own research is imperative with these things.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was shooting. I was at shooting when 9/11 happened. I saw the first plane go in, and then I saw the second plane go. I saw the second plane crossing Hudson River because I was shooting out on the river. And I go, oh, as I saw it halfway, I go, oh, this is an attack. I get what's going on here. But the what you call it, the after that had happened, I naturally had bloodlust in me. I'm like, whoever did this, anyone close to this, and I've been honest in the last couple of years, that was wrong. That was wrong, and I've come to that conclusion now. It took me.
Hold on, you're going fast. Now being a New Yorker, obviously this hits at home. Now, I'm just gonna let you know where my head's on this. To me, I think that was a play. I think it was orchestrated. I've seen a lot of things blown up in my life being military, and I know this is a huge accusation. And for someone to do that to their own people, listen, I get it. I understand. It's tough to hear. It's hard to swallow. I understand that. But seeing how everything played out afterwards, it was like a roadmap to go start the military industrial complex, and the Patriot Act was just enacted, and all of a sudden they had an eye and an ear in everybody's living room. And maybe it's a leap for me to think that, but that's just where I stand now. Being a New Yorker, I'm sure this is and being there to see it, you know, I can't imagine. So 9/11 to you, what does it mean?
What does it mean? If you would have said that to me, what are we in 2024? So that happened in '01. If you would have said that to me 20 years ago, I said, you're crazy,
Of
ignore
course.
you, whatever. But now my mind is open. You're talking about an awakening, right? That was, I was coming through my awakening right before the pandemic hit. I
Okay.
was starting to see things a little bit more clearly. And then once that hit and I saw the way they dealt with it, I said, all right, everything's on the table now. It was so, but you're to your point that was, a play, right? It could be.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it.
You're not ruling it out. That's all I
I'm
can
not.
ask.
Yeah, and here's the thing: when people hear like me and you discuss things like this, and you're crazy, that's conspiracy. No, it's really not, man. It's really not because you're talking about running the world, right? And this is not the time of Alexander where you can go in
Exactly.
with armies and take
Exactly.
over.
Exactly.
It's in the spirit of Alexander, but it's just done differently. That's
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
right? So you train people, through a guy, through a guy, through a guy, through a guy. Did they know it was going to be planes? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
But these guys were touched at some point with something in mind, right? And at what scale, who knows? That's my point where like my mind is open now. Yeah, anything's possible.
Do you know how you
Sure.
just said you had an awakening? Like
Yeah.
you had so that happened to me when I was in Afghanistan, my friend. I was the typical, red-blooded American. I listened to everything I was told. I was a good Marine. I thought kill, kill, kill. They're the bad guy. And once I went over there a few times and I started to see what was really going on, it changed me in a way, man. It made me think differently. And I started realizing that we were being lied to a lot. Everything wasn't what they're telling you how it is. And that made me look at things a whole different way, man. And I can understand, being told some things, they sound extreme. And honestly, I think the people that are at power depend on that. They need it to sound that way to people. So they're just like, no way, not a chance. And you're
Yeah.
right. We're not in the time of Alexander, and ruling the world means doing certain things to rule it. And I think honestly that that's what happens. It really does.
And it's interesting because you have the perspective of being on the ground on a battlefield, right? So the military, I see it through the news. I know the players. You know the players on your end. I know the players on my end. And same thing. They lie. They're lying, to achieve a certain political goal. The difference is that years ago, it wasn't in your
It
face.
wasn't in the open. Yeah, you're right.
It wasn't in the open. Now it's in the open, and they look at you and they say, do something.
Yeah,
What are you going
exactly.
to
Exactly.
I've got the power.
Hmm.
You don't. Go scratch.
Hmm.
That's how they look at this. And a bunch of us are looking back going, they're saying this? They're
Fucking
talking to us like this?
like
And the initial instinct of just want to go out and physically do something, that's not going to work. Unless someone's at my door, then yeah, okay,
yeah,
sure. Then
exactly.
we'll discuss. But to get the mass to win hearts and minds,
Exactly.
that's not going to work. It's going to work by you doing what you're doing here behind the camera and whatever you're involved in the community outside of me doing what I do, whatever I'm involved in. It just needs more people,
Spreading
right?
awareness to a certain degree, or starting that
Yeah,
idea, at least
absolutely.
planting the seed so people have the conversation.
Correct.
It's at least thought of.
Yeah. It's in the forefront and not something that you're not even thinking about.
Exactly.
And that's what I was saying before with like friends and family that in the last 4 years now. No, I've seen it. It may not be behind them and it may not be directly in front of them, but it's around here
Yep.
now. They
Yep.
they see it. It's side eye. They know something doesn't feel right, and that's a start. You
I
know what I'm
think
saying?
exactly what you said earlier about conspiracy. No, I think that was what do you dictate, or what is the difference between conspiracy or conspiracy theories and just critical thinking, questioning the narrative, you know? Um, I understand a lot of these people go way too hard with the shit and they find a problem in everything, and all of a sudden the world's flat and the moon's a base, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but there are certain things that, if you can follow the money, that really they start looking differently to you.
George Carlin said it best about conspiracy. You don't need a bunch of people in a room like this and discussing. They went to the same schools. They hang out in the same social
Yep.
circles.
Yep.
They don't got to talk to each other. Perfect example is the thing with Trump right now and all of these court cases. Is there somebody in the background orchestrating it, pulling like strategically? You drop this and you drop that. You could maybe, but it's totally believable that it's with a wink and a nod. You know what you can do. You know what
Yeah.
you can do. You know what you can do. Maybe somebody's saying, wait until this time. So it time's up with that. But the actual planning of it all, you don't need to, like I said, you don't mean let's make a conspiracy, let's do that. Are there evil people in the world that do that? Sure. But this I
I
know to be true. This I know to be true too. Most of the people that call themselves leaders or representatives or whatever we're calling them these days are idiots.
yeah.
They're,
Oh
they're
yeah.
idiots. They're jerks. They couldn't make it in the real world. So they were able to figure out how to raise money and get a position of power. That's it. That's their claim to fame. They know nothing. If you understand that, then the whole,
Oh
evil
yeah.
conspiracy thing kind of goes by the wayside. Then if for anything, they're useful idiots in somebody's like, evil conspiracy. But yeah, that conspiracy word is a way to stop
Of course.
critical thinking, critical
Yes.
critical thinking conversations. Oh, that's a conspiracy, but it really isn't. You know what I'm saying? It really isn't. Like, the thing with like what really bothers me too is like
Discredit. It's a way to discredit you, bro.
that's it. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what it's used for. It's used for to discredit you and not and it's kind of a distraction. Right. You go, and now I noticed a lot with the media and the government and on both sides of the aisle, they lean into it and use it as a deflection now.
Oh
Like
yeah.
they've been taught, it's
You
just
remember what they did
unfortunately.
with Terror, bro? When Terror first started coming out? Terror, terror, terror on
Oh my
every,
God.
you know what I'm saying? That's the
It
same
was it was
thing.
all over the place. And again, and think about it. Now that's 2001, 2, and 3. We're not anywhere near the connectivity that we have right
Of
now.
course.
You know what I'm saying? So they were able to run roughshod,
Oh yeah.
like, yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's why you had, George, I guarantee you, if something like that happened right now, remember when that happened, George Bush had something like a 90%, 95% approval rate.
Hmm.
I guarantee you, if something similar like that happened right now, that wouldn't be the case anymore.
No.
Right. And the problem is that instead of trying to unite and trying to find common ground, these people are, like I said before, leaning into it, right? Because they have their own agenda of making money or whatever. They're holding positions of power and so on and so forth. And
I think
that's
we
why I keep.
accidentally saw, bro, how exactly they hold all these people together through Jeffrey Epstein. I think we weren't supposed to see that, man. I really think that was something that was not supposed to come to the surface. That's why he was, you know, gone within what a month of them finding out of that. I think that's how they get dirt on politicians and they use them like pawns. It's
Well,
it's
like what I say before, it's out in the open and they're looking at you in the eye and saying, do something. We literally witnessed, finally, it got so overwhelming, the publicity, that they had to put this guy away. And then when they put him away, he's in jail for 2 days and he kills himself.
yeah,
And that was it. And that's the end of it. And it's over, and stop
yep.
it.
Next
Right.
issue.
And that is bang, like, oh, really, really? You're gonna do that? And it becomes a joke, and then it's over.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And
Yep.
and then you have cynical people. They're like, well, that's the way the world's always been. I guess you're
Mm,
probably right, but at this scale, at this public, when it gets to the point where it's that public, the next step is not one you want to see.
yeah,
Right? It's one
exactly.
thing when you're trying to at least appear that you're abiding by rules and norms. When those are out the door, and now we're at the point where it's in front of your face, then okay, then it, like I said, you asked me, do I follow patterns? I follow history. I know in history, now it gets in front of your face. That next step in front of you, that's an ugly one. That's
Yeah,
where it starts to get ugly, right? And we're almost there. Like they're literally locking up people for political
yeah.
persecutions at this point. That's happening. And I'm from Jersey. So I understand the game. I've seen this done at a local level. So I know
Mm,
what it looks like. Perfect example, the 2020 elections, right? Not to go down this route. I'm from Jersey. I've worked on. I come from a town, Union City. There was a class in UCLA in the '90s called Union City Politics about corruption. I've watched 3 of my mayors get walked out of the
wow.
city hall from getting arrested. So I know about how ballot chasing works.
Yep.
I know that. But before there was mail-in ballots and drop boxes, and I've witnessed this, it was getting ballots from the front of people's doors, putting it in a box, putting it in a van, in a garage somewhere, waiting for election night and seeing what the
Wow.
count is. And then if it's too close, Here are the
Go
two
the other way.
boxes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When
Wow.
I saw the drop boxes getting put around the country, I go, oh my God, they just scaled it.
Yeah.
They just scaled the alderman race into a federal thing. So, again, they look you in the face. They're like, nah, it's 100% safe and
Yeah,
effective.
exactly. What are you gonna do?
It's all
Yeah.
real. It's what are you going to do about it? You're like, oh man. Again, you got to change the culture.
Yeah.
You gotta make it uncool, not right to do that. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta change the culture. You gotta, like, that's why I keep telling everybody, do what you do, because it all plays into getting
You know,
this
it's
fixed.
funny. It's funny, man, because I've had a few of these podcasts with just people that think, and we always just identify these things, and we get to the point where what can be done, because it's at the point where there needs to be some kind of martyr, or no, when martyr's a strong word. It has to get to the point where we say fuck our life. I'm gonna make a point to stand on something. You know what I mean? And that's really what it's gonna take. It's gonna be some kind of V for Vendetta type deal. And I know I don't want to see that. I think I mean I love my family. I don't want to see anyone killed or anyone die, but it's almost like that's what it would take for a government to be actually stopped to doing these things, you know?
The problem is, Nick, is that, and I learned this during the pandemic. A lot of things were exposed. You see how people really are.
Right? You're right.
Unless the problem for the majority of people is right here,
Exactly. Knocking on their door. Yeah, you're
they
right.
don't want to deal with it.
Yep.
What's the point? I take my kid to soccer class, soccer, whatever, to the games. I take care of this. I take care of that. I'm okay, I guess, and that's it. But that's what killed me about the pandemic, was that it kind of did come into your house, in your face. Like, your kids now are, and I mean this in the most scientific way, got more retarded sitting in
Facts.
front of a screen. You know
Facts.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That didn't bother you. You know, me personally, like, I have a bunch of friends that tell me, "Oh, get over it, it's over," but I still haven't gotten over the fact that my government called me non-essential, and then went after my living that I spent 20 years building up. Have to let people go. Like, so some of us were hit harder, but even the people that just stayed home, I learned that even then it didn't really. I dealt with it. It took about a year of that, for that's when they started to rumble. My sister, my best friends, my cousins, they're like, what's going on now? Why are we still doing this?
Yeah.
Like, da da da. But it took them a year. It took me a day. It took a lot of us to, like, what, this is bullshit, right? But my point is, they have a lot of, I don't know what the word is, patience. I don't know if
Because they
that's
can
it.
they can afford it.
They can afford it, and that's the thing. All and here and here's the thing. For as crazy as things are right now in this country, for as nuts as for inflation and the wars and everything else, it's still pretty good to live here. You know
Right.
what I'm
Of
saying? And
course.
I could think of worse places to be, and
Big time.
that's what normal Joe Schmo, how they look at the world.
Yeah.
Non-political person says, I'm all right. I can go to the store. I can buy my cigarettes. I can
Hmm.
get my milk.
Yep.
The milk is more expensive. Yeah, the eggs are more expensive. But what can I do about that?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how they look at it. But
Hmm.
yeah, but the way I look at it, Nick, me, people, we're like the canary in the coal mines,
Facts.
right?
Yep.
That's our job here, is to, hey, something's going down here,
Yeah.
and I don't care if people, how many people, when the pandemic hit, that I work with, I made it a rule of mine for 20 years in business by myself. I'm a very political person, but I never brought it into the work
Of
realm. I
course.
kept it
Of
aside.
course.
But you ask yourself, well, what can you do, like, to break? You got to take a stand. For me, that was putting it on the line, because I don't know where these people politically stood. They all could have been lefty communists, the people I work for. Who the frig? I never got into it with them,
Hmm.
but I said, screw this. But what I did find out was, no, they weren't. They agreed. I had chief of police, head of fire departments, all DMing me during the heat of it, saying, keep saying what you're saying, keep saying what
Wow.
you're. I go, well, you need to say it.
Yeah,
And
it's
they're like,
facts.
well, I have I
They
have
won't sacrifice
a
themselves, you know?
401k and
Yeah,
this, and
exactly.
just to go off onto another side tangent with that, and just because the first responders are such a key,
Of
vital part of
course.
what we're doing. I came to this revelation recently, actually, in the last couple of months. We've got to disconnect. Pensions plans have to become private for
Yeah,
first responders.
absolutely. That
1000%.
can't be
They that
threatened.
that cannot
Yeah,
that cannot be held over
it's
the head
ridiculous.
of first responders. It just can't be
Do
because
what we say.
yeah, like some of these cops and people that were going on to empty beaches and arresting people and shit like that. Like that's wrong, bro. You know that forget that it's wrong. It's just stupid,
Yeah,
right? Forget about unconstitutional. What are you doing,
yeah,
right? But they got threatened,
yeah.
and it hit me just based off, like I told you, people coming and talking to me and getting the feedback of people that are on the ground, cops and firemen and so forth. I don't live my retirement plan. And I go, I hear you, man. You're 20, 18 years in, you got a couple more years, you're retiring. I feel you. But going forward, I figured, you know what? We've got to detach that. I know that went off onto a tangent with
No,
that, but
no,
it just
no.
hit me. It
Still,
hit me recently, and I'm like, that was the major issue with that. I keep playing, the last 4 years in my mind. I'm like, what got us to this point?
yeah.
Because everything builds on top of each other.
I think honestly there
And
was a huge divide. It real because this happened in the military too, bro. There was a lot of people that just got kicked out of the military, and you know what? You know who it was? It was the person that will actually stand on something and say no to something, and they are all out of the military now. So, not to say that there
that's
aren't good people
dangerous.
still in the. This is what I'm saying. The person that stayed in, and I'm sure there are outliers. I'm not knocking everybody, but the person that stayed in will be that person that will do what they're told no matter what it sounds like, even if it is wrong. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they're the only one that's right. They're being told that it's the right thing, so it's got to be right. And that's the scary thing, man. And
My question, and let me ask you a question. Being in the military, so sure, you have the psycho, makeup of certain military people. The patriotic person. I love my country. I want to go serve. That's fantastic. And you're saying there's people in there that are, will not question anything. Like walk into the, open population, open
yeah,
fire. Like what? Where is their head at coming into the military? Where is that type of person? So you have, like I said, you have the red-blooded American. I want to go and I want to fight for my country. I want to put it on the line. That's beautiful.
there's two types of people, bro. There's the person that I told you about when I told you I had an awakening in Afghanistan that sees what's going on around them and sees that something's happening here and it's not what I'm being told and it feels wrong. Honestly, it's someone that has any kind of street smart or common sense that can put things together and has just understands when they're being sold or played. And it's the people that are just completely sold on Osama bin Laden 9/11 being real, and I'm killing the towel heads and killing the bad guy, and I'm the right person here. And it's those two people, honestly. And it's the ones, as I said, that will do anything blindly just because they have the patch on their arm. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Which I
Yep.
understand. Don't think I don't understand it, because when I got out of the military, I had to deconstruct myself, bro. I've taken rounds for this country. I've gotten blown up. I am patriotic at the end of the day, but I'm patriotic to a different country than it is now, man. Like it was different, or maybe it wasn't all out in the open. I don't know, but I loved this country at one time, man. It was free at one time. It was different. Now it just, I think we all can say that something just doesn't feel right. I think we can all agree on just that. Something just doesn't feel right. And I don't know exactly what adjective or how to call it, but
You know what it is, Nick? I think it is that because people are so involved with themselves, they've bequeathed this power onto these representatives that at one point we're just representatives. You do what we tell you, but because people have turned a blind eye and let them run shotgun, eh,
yeah,
I think
power
that's what the
corrupts, brother.
problem is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it corrupts, and it wasn't like that before, right? There was some sure, power is power, and then there's the beneath that, but there was more of a balance. The balance is off now.
Yeah, big
You
time.
understand what I'm saying? And I think that's what we're feeling is that the balance has tipped too much. Sure, there's the powerful always going to sit a little bit ahead,
Hmm.
but us over here sometimes when we want it, we could push it up. Now when we push it up, we still only get here.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Like that's the problem. They've gone so far. I mean, bro, we are 30, almost 40 trillion in debt. And for what? For 40 trillion in debt, Nick, when I drive out of my driveway, there should be gold on the
This is what I'm
streets.
saying. It's not been
There should
put
be
back
gold
into
on
our.
the
Yeah,
streets.
exactly.
You, you
Exactly.
know, we're looking at $1 trillion just in interest payments now. $1 trillion, just whatever. You know, that we, we lost. We
But
lost.
really, what is our country doing right now, bro? If we can see, as you just said, you can see internal issues with our country, right? What is our country really doing if they're not putting it back into our infrastructure? They're over in fucking Ukraine. They're dealing with Palestine and Israel. We're actively going overseas and going to countries and saying, if you don't use the American dollar, we're going to kill your leader and put someone new in, and then we're going to start telling you what to do. But that's what we're doing right now. That's
Yeah,
what Biden
openly,
and
but now it's open. We were doing it
yeah,
before, but
yeah,
now
now,
now
yeah,
it's
exactly,
now it's outright. Like, listen,
exactly.
and you know what it is, and that's a bad thing. But on the optimist in me says that's kind of a good thing too, because when you get to that point, that means we're crossing over something right now, right?
True.
And you got to go. It's always darkest right before the
I
day,
hear you.
darkest before the dawn. So we're in that dark. We're at the beginning of that dark period right now, which means they have lost all. I don't want to use the word moral, but they've lost all understanding of norms. Just like
Yeah.
this thing was working good for, I don't know, 200 and say, what are we, 200, almost 250 years in, 248 years.
About.
But I would say since the turn of the century, shit started getting weird. Like that's when shit started to get really, and then but up until then, yes, there was shady stuff going on and it was in the background, but at least in the public view, there were norms. You wouldn't do certain things. You wouldn't go arrest your political opponent
Yeah, no
for
shit.
for
The
for for
DO,
paper
the
for paper
Department of Justice
misdemeanor.
wasn't weaponized. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, paperwork misdemeanors. Again, you do that on the local level. I've seen that done, and that's fine. Whatever you want to have street fights, that's normal politics. But when you start taking it on the world stage, which is
Yeah,
federal, you know what I'm
absolutely.
saying?
Absolutely.
We've crossed into somewhere now. So and I hear Steve Bannon. He's been saying it. 2016 was, I forgot the word he uses, but basically an epiphany. Everything has to happen for a reason, right? Yeah, 2016 happened. He got in there, and the whole system went whole. And that's what happened with Trump. Take Trump out of the equation. Just say it was another billionaire that's not politically involved. It threatened the whole system, because if someone like this can come from the outside and actually do stuff, then their whole racket is up. To go back to the point of 40 trillion in debt, they look at it as they don't see the 40 trillion. They see the grift that came off of it. And as long as that grift keeps coming off of it, that's where we are as a country right now. You ask where we are as a country, that's where we are. We are heavily, when you have trillions of dollars, again, goes back all the way to what I was saying before, human nature. They're going to steal. And it's out in the open. And they've made a business model. Our government is now a business model of theft. Right. And
Yeah.
you say that, and some people are like, no, it's not. Well, it's not out in the open. They're not handing, envelopes of cash yet, but they go through different routes, NGOs and PACs and all of this. And,
Do you know,
car show.
do you know what all of what has been going on lately, unfortunately, has made me think? And I've never thought this way. It's made me realize how little power the president actually has. And it's convinced me that there is a actual deep state or an elite family group, whatever you want to call it, that's been around for a while, that influence trends, and they put politicians like a chessboard in position to try to enrich themselves further, or put more money in their pocket. I don't know, but clearly we are getting in engagements overseas, clearly to it's some form of cleaning money, or
I don't know.
we're dumping money into Ukraine. Dumping.
To your point, and I hate to, quote a KGB murdering
No, please
scumbag
do.
like Putin, but he was spot on when he spoke with Tucker. He goes, they were talking about, he's like, I don't care what president's in there, because the truth of the matter is the guys with the black suits
Guys with the
come
black
in,
suits.
the guys with the black suits, and he was being out and open. He's honest. He's
Bro,
true.
honestly, this
It
has
doesn't
made me
just
like Putin more than I ever
not,
have.
and it's not even liking Putin. It's understanding truth, right? I don't know. I may not agree with how he takes care of his business with his, political opponents, all that. But if you speak Reagan and Gorbachev, right? And mortal enemies, 1,000 nuclear weapons pointing at each other. You got to be able to talk to these people and acknowledge, hey, that's truthful. That's truthful. So in that particular case, he was absolutely right. He's like, there's the guys in the black suits. They come in again. The black suits control, what's his name? Schumer said it in that famous interview with, I guess, on was it on MSNBC. He's like, Trump don't understand the intelligence agencies come at you 3 times from Sunday
Yeah,
if you step on them. He's openly saying it,
I
like,
know.
shh, shut you. We don't do that here,
Mm,
right? They'll come and get you. They have, and that's the other thing. And especially when you're a politician, since the beginning of time, politicians are disgusting, perverted
of course, of
people. It's just
course.
who they are. So it's so easy for an organization like an intelligence agency to basically uh blackmail them.
Hmm.
And also with the tech companies, you look at the soy boys that run these tech companies, you get these big black suited guys coming in, whatever you say, man.
Yeah,
Oh, no warrant, don't worry, here's 50 million names
yeah,
and
exactly.
emails.
Yep,
You know what I'm saying?
yep.
So like I said, there's a power imbalance right now, and that's really what's going on. It's gotten out of control
Yeah,
because we have such a good life, because we can afford the things we do, and we've taken our eye off the ball,
facts.
and I guess part of it is that back in the day there was less things to distract you,
True.
right? So it wasn't 55 things. It was 2 things. I had to get food, I had to work, pay for stuff, and that was it. What else are you gonna do with the rest of your time? Oh, I'll get engaged with the community. I'll
Yeah,
do stuff, and that's where the power was. That doesn't it does exist to this day, but not in the numbers, relatively speaking, of the size of our
of
country
course, of
now,
course.
where it should even be close to it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
when you have 360 million people, I guess whatever, 200 million of those people are
Adults,
voting
adult.
age,
Yeah, yeah.
adults, right? And you only got half of them showing up for elections,
That's a
right?
problem.
And half of those people that show up for elections don't even know what's going on. They're just doing it because they're doing it. Now you're talking about whatever. So who's really engaged in understanding what's going on in this country? 10% of the
Yeah,
electorate?
exactly,
You know
exactly.
what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's because there's a lot of things that keep people distracted. I'm not making excuses. I'm just
No,
saying this is
this is what we're dealing with, man. I mean,
yeah, it's the
absolutely.
reasons. And I got mad at them for a long time. I'm not going to be honest. I was like that. You suck. Why can't you wake up? I see a ton of people. The best thing I love to see on Right Here Radio, you know, from a lot of Black Americans kind of having their awakening on Right Here Radio.
Yeah,
And I see a lot of people come on and comment and say, well, that's your fault. You want to vote Democrat for 30 years. That's your problem. And I always, and I never really engage on Right Here Radio, but every now and again, I'll jump in, I'll get in the fray.
have
And
a
I'm
little
like,
fun.
have a little fun.
Hmm.
But I'm not even arguing with them. I'm like, what did you expect? You have one party, the Republican Party, that looked at a base of people for the last, I don't know, 50 years and don't engage them.
Yeah,
So what are you going to do? You're going to stay with the devil,
yeah, exactly.
right?
Yep.
The Trump doing the thing in South Bronx and Harlem. I've been yelling at the top of my lungs. What that? Why? Why haven't you gone into any of these strongholds and started to what? It makes no sense to me. That's the other problem with this country is that everybody politically has, and when I mean politically, from the top down, from the organizational part of it, the party levels have drawn these lines across the
I
country.
know, I
We
know,
we
I know.
can't win this state. We can't win that state. Why not? California was a red Republican stronghold up until the end of the 80s,
Yeah,
beginning of the 90s,
yep.
right? Things go ebb and flow, they change. But to your point, like I said, the last 20 some odd years, there's not even anybody trying to make that change, like going into those places and engaging. And like that's why I tell them, I go, politics is slapping hands and
Of
talking
course.
with people, and
Yeah,
and if you're not doing that and the other people are, whatever side you're on, Republican, Democrat, what one side's doing, the other side's doing, you're never going to get, and what kills me is a lot of these different demographics, Black, Hispanic, I'm married to a Hispanic woman myself, they are conservative for the most
of
part.
course.
What I'm saying? I don't even
But
mean
listen, what do
smart.
Democrats press on? The whole racism thing. They do it to get them fired up, and they make it seem like they're the only ones in their corner, and that's how they try to get the African American vote. But honestly, I have a lot of black friends, man, and a lot of them are starting to see that they're being manipulated, they're being used, and if they
It
could just
drives
realize
me
the power that
nuts.
they have as a unit, I mean,
I always, and I've been saying that is the one of the top 3 political things that drives me, that I would love to see change. And here's the thing: my pitch to them would even be, to the, the different communities that kind of stronghold with the Democrats, but don't really align with them, ideology. They do it because it's cool or whatever, but when it comes down to policies, they don't really don't align with them. Listen, you know what? I understand that the media has done a fantastic job of stripping the Republican brand down and white supremacy and all of that. Fine. Join the Libertarian Party. Become
Exactly.
an independent.
Exactly.
Stop voting lockstep
I
like
agree.
it's North Korea
I agree.
with one party. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you become a Republican. That's fine. Maybe you'll come around. Who cares? I don't care. But become an independent. Become a libertarian.
Yeah.
They don't understand the power they could
That's what I'm
have.
saying.
You
Absolutely.
understand? Like
100%. 100%.
you follow lockstep. This is what you're going to get. Every 4 years, they're going to throw you some crumbs,
Yeah,
and that's it.
exactly.
And they're going
Exactly.
to be done with you, right? But if you organize and be able to like break and decentralize and
Yeah.
form blocks,
Yeah.
now it's a whole other game,
Absolutely.
right? And like I said, it's not even like I'm a registered Republican, but I would rather see it like that. I'd rather see the power bases be
I would too.
25%.
I would too.
You know what I'm saying?
I would too.
Libertarian, independent, Republican,
Yeah.
and everybody just dukes it out. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we won this round because it doesn't allow one bigger
To just
entity to get a real,
perform a monarchy over everything. Yeah,
because
exactly.
that's what we are right now.
Facts.
On the political level, go back to your point. Yes,
Yep.
there is the intelligence, administrative state, deep state, whatever you want to call it. That's something to contend with too. But when you have a docile, these two monarchy type of
Yeah.
things, and they're
Just
holding
makes it
the
easier.
black,
Yeah.
it
Of
makes it
course.
easier.
Mhm.
You got 4 or 5 different strong factions going.
Absolutely. Then they actually have to work and do stuff for, the people. Yeah, exactly.
How does that happen? I don't know. I
Exactly.
don't know.
Exactly. Honestly, no, you said it earlier, bro. Like all we can do at this point is just try to plant the seed that starts the idea. And listen, these are just opinions, but I'm not one side. I think they're both scumbags. I'm just here to try to get as much as we can with the power that we have because honestly, we need to get back to we put them in their positions. I think we've come away from that. Like they're literally telling us what to do out here. Like,
No, have you ever? There was a commercial once. I forgot. It was like about 10 years ago, and it was a spoof. It was, what if like firemen ran like Congress, and they're all firemen, and the firemen are there, and the guy gets up. All right, dirty water here. Who votes to clean it up? We do. Yay! Click next, right? And it was just like all these things you make difficult for political positioning and power and money and everything else. They're easily fixed if you just listen to what we're saying, what to do. Perfect example. What's going on in Ukraine, right? No one, the overwhelming majority of Americans, Republican, independent, libertarian, and some Democrats, don't want to be fighting this war, but they're going straight ahead, funding it, fighting it. And you look around, you're like, are you listening to us? What are you doing? And they're just doing it. And that's the problem with what's going on here. Again, you break that up, then it won't happen like that. But they're not going to go out without a fight, man. You know what I'm saying? The power
I
base
think
is
what you said in the beginning of this podcast, dude. I think channels like ours, if we start taking the power from these conglomerate news stations, people are losing trust in them, bro. They really are. And if they can see that, these are legit, we are legit channels that are doing research and not we're not funded by these maybe one or two families that own all these news stations and you're getting legit news. I mean, it's a possibility for this to grow or for you to grow or at least someone to start a channel that's does actual journalism or actual real stories that aren't influenced by the billionaire at the top of the pyramid.
here's a word that I noticed it when it started, and I was like, why do they keep using this when it comes to the word narrative? Right? The corporate media created this to make news into like a scripted, which it is to them. It's scripted narrative. You know what I'm saying? Like, as soon as I saw that word pop up into the lexicon, I was like, it used to be called news, and now news people are calling it narrative. Is that you're storytelling, man? That's not news. Hi, this happened. X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z. You form your own opinion. That's news, right?
Definitely. Definitely.
That's what news used to be. Well, like there's always, and here's the thing: there's always been like a buy. And another problem with the news too is the corporate news the Fox and MSNBC and CNN, even Newsmax, people that supposed to be
Biased.
independent thinking,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that it's corporate bias.
Yeah,
They got to appease their advertisers,
absolutely.
right? And granted, news outlets have always had to do that to some extent. They've got to pay the bills like anyone else. But and what kills me about the like now, like using the pandemic again, like with pharma, and I give Farmer all the credit, man. Genius effing move they did. Because that's another thing I
Ooh.
picked up on a while back. I'm like, you see all these pharma commercials. I'm like, but I can't buy that. Why are you spending billions of dollars
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
promote
yeah.
it to me? That wasn't the play. The
No,
play
no, no,
was
no.
we're gonna fund these people to the tune of billions of dollars in advertising dollars, and they will never talk about us again. Remember how like Farmer used to be this farm story and this thing
Oh yeah.
and the whatever the what's it the pill that took out the middle of the country uh Vicodin and all that
Oh
stuff
yeah, yeah.
dropped.
Opiates, opiates. Yep.
Opiates or the opiate crisis that was going on, that every day they were getting bombarded
Hmm.
pharma. It was just bad. So some genius brain trust in the pharma world said, we got to put an end to this. We're
Yeah,
going to buy them out, old school, mafioso
yeah.
style.
That's exactly what happened.
We're gonna
Yeah,
buy off. We're gonna buy, and they did, and it worked.
big
And
time.
that is really the problem with, and that's why I always say I rather watch an independent journalist who's wrong from time to time, honestly wrong,
That own it. Yeah, of course, of
than
course.
than someone that is purposely creating narratives.
Absolutely, 100%,
You
100%,
know what I'm saying?
100%.
Of course their competition. So the corporate media will look at the independents. So you see, you can't rely on them. I caught them lying. Caught them lying. That you're doing that every day, all day long.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
facts.
saying?
Yep.
You become competition at that point. But like I
Yeah,
said, I truly believe, and I was saying at the beginning of this podcast was, I think from the news media, we've made a lot of strides. I think we're in their zone and we're causing havoc, and they don't like it,
yeah,
right?
definitely.
They're really upset about all of that. But there's other sectors we've got to come after, and
Of course.
that's what I hope and I pray that people
You know what's I'm kind of scared about right now? I feel like they targeted the youth of this generation, man.
mm,
If you know what I'm saying, like the shit that they are coming out with and they're protesting against and that they think is solid is blowing my mind. When they get
yeah,
to the position when they're running this country,
they are already, man.
yeah, it's scary. It's scary, man.
You understand? They're already running the country. That's the problem. They're holding these positions right now. Granted, there's still some of the older people pulling the levers at the top, but I mean,
You're right. No, you're right.
Biden got into office from the neo-Marxist faction of the party. That's it. That's his power base. Those are the people making the decisions, right? Now, you talk to somebody that's not what we call normies, and you say neo-Marxist, and their eyes cross, and they're like, "What
Yeah,
are
of
you
course.
talking about?
Yeah,
What the
yeah,
hell's
yeah,
a
yeah.
neo-Marxist?"
Hmm.
But that's what they are. It's their
It's a
ideology, and you
fact.
could see it. It's who they are. This guy ain't making decisions on his own,
Absolutely not.
right? The trick is the next move, and willing, be it Trump or whoever else comes down the line, is they've got to clear house out
Oh,
there. Like
absolutely.
you've got to
Absolutely.
go
See you
into
later.
these.
See you later.
Yeah, whoever you can legally and constitutionally fire,
Yeah.
get them all out. I've always been saying, you just basically, who's been here, who's got just enough experience. You've been here 3 years, enough, but not too corrupted. Everyone above you fired.
Yeah. See you later.
And move everyone up. And again, they try to scare you with they don't know what they're doing. I'll take a mistake from honest people
I
in
can teach
government.
that. I can teach that. I can mold
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. Oh, but
Exactly.
that means, you might get attacked, or they go to the worst case scenario. But you know what? Honestly, if something like that, you really went in and you cleaned house, the military, the intelligence agencies, and all of that,
Necessary.
and something popped off while you were trying to rebuild it, I'm fine with that.
I am too.
You know what that's honest, that's real,
Exactly.
that's real life. Things screw up, and in this game, possibly people will get hurt, but it's honest. Now
Absolutely.
try pitching that to people with
It would
families and
go
everything
nuts.
else, but
They'll twist that. And yeah, absolutely.
they're not
Absolutely.
going to hear it. But that's the truth. That's how this country got to be. It was normal
Absolutely.
people getting
Absolutely.
behind. It always starts with, perfect example. Just going back to the revolution, right? What was it? A bunch of farm boys
Yeah.
going after these guys. That's how it started,
Hmm.
and then it built and it built and it built, and
Hmm.
then the people that were running the colonies, the founding fathers said, all right, we got to start getting behind these people.
Yep.
That wouldn't happen today, not because of their being unpatriotic, which I guess they would be, but because of the money, because
That's
they're
it's
paid
all that
off, they're
matters. Yeah,
bought off.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
wait a minute, if I back this guy, I'm going to lose this contract, lose that deal.
What have you done for me lately? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So that it's and it goes back to what we were saying from the beginning. It's a culture shift. There has to be and people call it a culture war. We're in a culture war. I don't like using that terminology. I just think it's be about it. That's my point. Just be about it. I come on this podcast, we talk, just having a conversation,
Yeah, yeah.
ranting about politics and stuff like that. But once I'm off the mic, you have to be about it. That you have to. What's the saying? Play like you've been there before.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like play
Yep.
like you've been there before, and it doesn't mean what I've been trying to get out to people is not just in politics, in whatever you do, right? Because I've noticed that too. A lot of people have become very docile. Saw that in the pandemic. No matter what industry they're in,
Yeah,
you're like, you're
very
gonna let
true.
them cut
Very
you
true.
down, your pay like that. Well, I don't
Very
know what
true.
to do, right? So it's bigger than politics. It's like I said, it's cultural. Once you
Because I've traveled a lot. Something I noticed. Have we just been dumbed down? Are we just that desensitized and that removed from real world issues that that's what we're seeing with Americans today? Like, I don't know. It honestly really scared me what I saw from the pandemic. Just this huge divide between people and like friends that have known each other for 10, 20 years. See you later. And
yeah.
for something like that to just cause that, I mean, scary, man.
Well, be lucky it was just that because again, we have so much to lose. That situation 150 years ago would have been war.
Oh
It
yeah,
would have been blood. It would have been,
forget about it.
cousins killing cousins,
Yeah,
friends
yeah,
killing
you're right.
friends.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And because we have so much to lose, a house, a family, a
mm.
job, whatever, but that we came right to the precipice of that.
Yeah, we did.
I know. I have friends, best friends of mine, and just going along with it, right? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna just sit around and act like this is nothing. It's not nothing. I don't care. We got to the precipice
Yeah, we
and
did.
kind of got pulled back. And like I said, because you said, are we dumbed down by all of this? It's not that we're dumbed down. We're distracted.
Mm.
Yes, there are some dumb people. I'm not going to lie to
Yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah.
but overall, it's a distraction thing. We're so distracted with everything, and again, we all kind of have decent lives, so it's kind of like, what are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
That
Yeah.
can't really affect anything, but yeah, I mean, being on your phone 25 hours a day hasn't helped anyone.
No, I know. I know. I know.
And I see it from Right Here Radio, just from moderating, not even just Right Here Radio. I mean, I manage 100 different accounts, their social media, so I see comment threads of all different industries all over the place, and people are just. It's a different world.
I agree.
It's like a persona, right? But the problem is that persona has taken on so much of that person's real life
Mm.
that it comes out in their real life now, right?
You're
It
right.
was
You're right.
in the early days of the internet, internet tough guy going in an AOL chat room, F you, F you, F you. I'm anonymous. Nobody knows
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know. But now it's absorbed into them. I guess, yeah. Simply put, it is a dumbing down.
Mm.
But it's weird.
Well, everything we've talked about tonight, man, and I mean, it's difficult for some people. I understand, but what's something that you could leave us with, man? And you got veterans on my side, and or just what's the next big thing? Really, it's the election. That's the big thing that's going to be coming up. That's very significant. What's something
Yeah.
you would tell people?
I would tell them to get out, and vote strictly on your pocketbook. Straight up, cut through all the policy nonsense. I know the border has a big deal with a lot of people. That does, it affects everybody, but in the end, the result of that to the common man is the bottom line, right? Expense things have gone up. Right, vote with your pocketbook. If you think things are honky dory, vote one way. If
Yeah.
you think Things aren't. They vote the other way, even if you've never voted that way before, because because if
Exactly.
it
Yeah, I hear you.
continues down, this path, could you imagine what the 12th, the ninth, what is that? The ninth year of Obama would have been Hillary. You could imagine if Hillary would have jumped in there 12 years in a row of that, right? At the very least, Trump was a reprieve. All right, everybody breathe. We're going on that
Exactly.
road. You
Exactly.
know, I think the country needs a little bit of a reprieve. And I
I
know
agree.
it's and here's the thing. If you hate both, right, but you lean one way or the other, or you lean a little bit to the left and but you don't feel where they're going, don't vote.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't vote.
Mm.
That's your protest. Don't vote just because I voted one way, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
I've missed a couple. I missed a bunch of elections in the last 4 years because of that. I'm like, I don't agree with anything these people are saying. I'm not going to vote for the sake of voting, so I'm going to step away,
I think you hit
right?
the nail on the head
Yeah.
right there, bro. I think there's a lot of people that are voting one way just because they always voted one way, and or they think you hit the nail on the head right there. Don't just do that just because.
Let your protest be the vote. Like not no vote. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yep.
And I hear you. You hate this guy, you hate that guy, you kind of lean that way. That's where you always voted. I get it. Just sit this one out.
Yeah.
And it's not some sly way of trying to win, and try to get. No, I'm being dead honest to you. You asked me coming up with the election. If you're not into it, sit it out. Don't worry, the world will keep going on, right? But there are some people like me and you and others, and not just from the right, but in the middle and the left that see things for what they are,
Facts.
right? And we're just trying to not pull too far to this way or to that way, but
Exactly.
just an even line, right? And just get to the middle. We're not even in the middle at
Yeah,
this
I
point.
agree
You
with
know
you
what I'm
completely.
saying? We're just trying to pull it back to the middle. Let us do our thing. Let
Yeah.
us engage everybody. Don't ruin it.
Absolutely. That's
You
that's
know
what I'm
what I'm
realizing
saying?
I have to try to say. I just because I'm really not I don't get me wrong, I tend to lean towards the right with a lot of things, but I need to start trying to say things without a bias so people can hear me that I'm just trying to be straight up. I'm just trying to look out for the common man, the blue collar worker. That's all I'm here for, and I think people they hear a tidbit of red or right and they're just like, "Oh, fuck him. Fuck, I don't want to hear anything."
And people do it every day in it. Just take sports for a second. I'm a huge Knicks fan. Okay. I love watching them play. But now I watch the finals. I don't hate those
I
teams and
hear you.
refuse to watch it
Great
because
example.
I'm a fan of the sport. You
Great
know what I'm
example.
saying? It's the same thing with politics. Like, yeah, you don't like somebody and your guy's not in it. That's fine, but don't ruin the game.
Absolutely.
You know
Well
what I'm
put.
saying?
Well
That's what
put.
I would leave people with going into this election. Don't ruin the game for everyone else that's honestly trying to play it and win for everybody, right? What's a win for everybody at this point? I'll leave you with this: is that the dollar was worth more. Really, honestly, the bottom line that it's not that nobody doesn't have any money; it's that the money is worth shit right now.
Absolutely.
That's gotta get fixed, right? You gotta get the border fixed. You can't be letting in a million plus people. You can't be letting in statewide numbers of population every year into the country. That's just you can't do that. And
Unacceptable.
that particular issue, I think a lot of people across every demographic and
Agree
every
on.
board
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's you just don't let people in your house like that. Hey, I
Absolutely.
don't come in, you come in, you come in. Right. Those are the two main things I would focus on. If those are your issues, then there is one person in this election that's at least saying the right thing, and has a track record from the previous administration of doing the right thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So put everything else aside, get your personal. I don't like the color of him, the hair, the way you
Yep.
talk. Get past all that
Break
nonsense,
it down. Yeah.
right?
I agree with you.
Because in the end, Trump may get in, he may not get in, but we still got to keep going on, and
Absolutely.
we've got to approach politics in that way
I agree.
to get a massive amount of people to come over and start saying, you know what, you're right. Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, because we're
I
not even
agree.
arguing anymore about like tax codes
Yeah,
or
exactly.
this
Exactly.
is either you let 4 million people in, right? And you're a good person, you're virtuous, or you're against it and you're a racist or whatever the freaking
Yeah, seriously.
the,
Whatever
the,
they
the
want to
word
call
du
us.
jour the
Yeah,
word
yeah.
du jour is this week for people that disagree with them. That shit's got to end, and that's what we're
Facts.
trying to do this election is at least let this election be the beginning of that, where we can all communicate on somewhat of the same dictionary of words.
Yeah.
Like, so we all, let's, I don't, you
We're
don't have to
we're the
come to
ones
my
living out
side.
here. At the end of the day, no matter if you're Republican, Democrat, we all got to live out here. Let's at least make it livable. You know what I'm saying? And
You
then
know what I'm
try to
saying?
agree on
Like,
something.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so just vote smartly. I'll leave you with that. Vote smartly as we come into the election, or don't vote at all. If it's too much, emotions are too high, let it go.
There you go.
Right. The next one, you got 2 years after that, another 2 years, find a congressman, a senator, a local person you can get behind, you truly believe, and that's
Yep.
fine. Do that
Do
kind
it
of
the right
thing.
way. Yep.
Do it
I
the
hear
right
you.
way,
Yep.
start from the ground up. So yeah, that's what I would say. I just,
Well, there you have it. James
yep.
King, right here radio. And you want to drop your ads or anything where people can find you, brother?
Go to righthereradio.com. Right. You'll see all of our posts there. What you see on righthereradio.com is a small portion of the content we produce. We're putting it all up there. Um, Yeah, that's it. I don't got a lot to press.
Cool.
That's right here,
Solid. All right.
radio.com.
Awesome.
Come visit us over there. Stay tuned. If you want, follow us on Instagram or Facebook. We're on
Cool.
Gab. We're on Getter. We're on
I'll drop all your stuff
Rumble.
under the when I drop any content for us, bro. Don't worry
Excellent.
about that.
We're just not
Cool.
on YouTube. Screw
Cool.
them.
There you go. There you heard it here. James King, thanks for coming by, brother. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to talking to you again, my friend. Have a good night.
Peace.
There you go.